Did FPV drones make the military sniper obsolete? A couple of years ago, I made videos about Ukrainian snipers hitting Russian targets from more than 2 miles away. Shots that sounded less like marksmanship and more like a physics final with a body count. The most famous of those snipers just put the rifle down. He hasn't been out on a sniper mission in about a year and a half. His new job is helping a drone operator. And when the Wall Street Journal asked him why, he basically said the drones are cheaper and they work better. So let me ask the uncomfortable question that every military sniper school on the planet is quietly asking itself right now. Did the FPV drone just make the military sniper obsolete? Hey friends, I'm Wes O'Donnell, defense journalist, veteran of the Army and the Air Force, which means I have strong opinions about two different mess halls and a deep familiarity with the phrase, hurry up and wait. Today, we're talking about one of the most mythologized jobs in all of warfare, the sniper. The ghillie-suited ghost. The guy who appears in every war movie like he was raised by a swamp and a gun manufacturer with unresolved issues. For more than a century, that figure has owned a special corner of the battlefield. So when one war starts pushing him out of it, that's worth understanding carefully because the obvious takeaway is probably the wrong one. Here's the first thing we have to get straight, because the whole question falls apart without it. The sniper was never just a trigger. A good sniper team does a stack of jobs at once. It observes, it reports, it maps how the enemy moves, it picks out the high-value target in a crowd, it calls in artillery, it confirms whether the artillery worked, and it shapes how the other side behaves because once people know there's a sniper out there, they stop walking upright in the open. A rifle is maybe a third of that job. For most of the history of the profession, the sniper has been a sensor first and a shooter second. A two-man intelligence node that happens to also reach out and end an argument from a kilometer away. That logic held from the trenches of the First World War all the way through Iraq, Afghanistan, and the opening years of Russia's full-scale invasion. The side that could see no man's land and punish anyone who moved through it had the edge. Snipers were how you owned that ground without standing on it. Then, cheap drones showed up by the thousands, and the math fell apart. A sniper team used to get eyes on a target by physically crawling into a spot where it could see. That took a lot of time, it took a lot of skill, and a willingness to die doing it. A reconnaissance drone just flies over and looks. The sniper team used to track enemy movement through a scope. A drone hovers, orbits, zooms, switches angles, and live streams the whole thing to a guy in a bunker eating cold rations. The sniper team used to engage one selected target with one carefully placed shot. An FPV drone flies into the trench, the vehicle hatch, the window, or the tree line and detonates on contact. And that last one is the real break. A sniper team used to be safe because it was hidden on the ground, but the ground isn't where the danger looks from anymore. The sky is watching now. That's the thing the ghillie suit was never designed to beat. A sniper in good cover can vanish from a soldier standing 300 meters away at eye level. From above, through a thermal camera, that same sniper is a warm smudge in a cold field, sitting very still in a spot where nothing should be warm. On this battlefield, a warm smudge that shouldn't be there gets a second look, and then it gets a drone. Translate that into plain cost terms. If a sniper team has to spend 2 days infiltrating through a zone full of cameras to take one shot, that shot had better be worth 2 human lives because the team might be spotted going in, tracked after it fires, or hunted on the way out by a quadcopter that costs less than the scope of the rifle. Meanwhile, a drone team pushes a sensor forward and risks a battery in a circuit board. If the drone dies, nobody writes a letter home. That's a brutal, decisive asymmetry. It's why the famous Ukrainian sniper I mentioned told the Wall Street Journal that everyone used to orbit him and now everyone orbits the drone pilot instead, himself included. By Ukraine's own accounting, drones now carry the overwhelming majority of the fight. Internal Ukrainian estimates reported in 2024 put drones at roughly 69% of strikes on Russian troops and around 3/4 of strikes on vehicles and equipment. By 2025, President Zelensky was claiming drones accounted for something like 80% of all successful strikes against Russian forces, with Ukrainian units logging hundreds of thousands of drone hits in a single year. Holy shit. Sit with that for a second. For most of modern history, the sniper was the most precise human tool on the battlefield. In Ukraine right now, the most used precision tool is a few $100s of Chinese hobby parts with an explosive zip tied to the bottom of it. A bullet flies one path and obeys gravity the whole way. A drone turns corners, climbs into a hatch, chases a runner, and hits from an angle no rifle could ever offer. One of those is a tool, the other one hunts. And I want to slow down here because this is one of those topics where my own background changes how I read it. I was not a scout sniper. I was an infantry designated marksman. 4 years in the Army as the guy in the squad who carried the more accurate rifle was expected to see a little further and reach a little further than the rifleman next to me. So I know the shooter's half of this from the dirt. The patience, the wind, the math, the way your whole world shrinks down to a reticle and your own heartbeat. I did a 2-year pit stop in a reserve Army Civil Affairs unit, and then I spent 4 more years in the Air Force on AWACS, sitting at the exact opposite end of that problem. The find and track business, the flying eyeball that watches everything and shoots nothing. Sitting at both ends taught me the part that actually matters here. Pulling the trigger is the easy part. The hard part is the chain in front of it. Find the target, fix its position, track it, identify it, decide, only then do you engage. A sniper team is remarkable because it crushes that whole chain down into 2 people and a rifle. One man finds, fixes, and identifies, the other one engages. The entire kill chain in a single quiet package on a hillside. And that's the part most of the hype misses. The drone didn't win a shooting contest with the sniper. It took that chain apart and spread it across a dozen cheap machines, and the whole thing runs faster when no single link has a pulse to protect. That is a structural change, not a marksmanship change, and structural problems don't get solved by a better cartridge. Now, before anybody starts chiseling "Rest in Peace Sniper" into a headstone, let's pump the brakes because the drone story has some asterisks the hype tends to skip. Let's start with the numbers themselves. They're largely self-reported, and Ukraine recently built a point system that rewards drone units for video recording their kills. That's smart for accountability. It also means drone strikes are the most carefully documented strikes in this war, while a sniper's shot or an artillery hit often goes uncounted. When one tool comes with a built-in camera and a scoreboard, be a little careful before you conclude it's doing literally everything. Then there's the fragility under the hood. Drones need batteries, frequencies, operators, antennas, parts, and clearish weather. They can be jammed, they can be spoofed, they can be intercepted, shot down with a shotgun, or grounded by fog and rain. Fiber optic drones dodge the jamming problem, sure, but not every unit has them and they come with their own headaches. The drone battlefield isn't magic. It's a brand new logistics system with propellers, and like every logistics system, it breaks. So here's the honest line, the one I'd want said about my own work. This is a claim that deserves serious analysis, not serious certainty. Drones have clearly eaten a huge share of the sniper's old job. Whether they've eaten the profession is a different question, and the answer is starting to come from the people whose entire job it is to think about it. So I went to the source. I reached out to the U.S. Army Sniper School directly and asked them more or less the question in the title of this video. They pointed me to a piece the Army itself had published just last month, and if you read that piece the right way, it's its own kind of answer. Here's what it lays out. The Army Sniper Course at Fort Benning is now building advanced signature management technology into the program. In plain English, they're testing camouflage designed to beat thermal cameras. The multispectral stuff that looks like a net and is built to hide a sniper's body heat from sensors in the air and on the ground. The instructors say the whole effort kicked off after a drone exercise in early 2025 made the problem impossible to ignore, because that's exactly the kind of asset a near-peer enemy is going to have in a real fight. One of them described the job simply as learning to hide from and defeat thermal and drone systems. That tells you where the institution actually stands. The Army isn't writing the sniper's eulogy, it's re-engineering how he disappears. The published position, more or less, is that the sniper still matters and the ghillie suit alone no longer keeps him alive. One instructor framed the whole thing as an endless loop. Every measure gets a countermeasure. Every countermeasure gets countered on and on forever. So the short version of where the professionals are landing on this is nobody serious is shutting down the schools. They're changing what the schools teach. Okay, the sniper isn't obsolete. The myth around the sniper is. The sniper as a lone marksman whose entire value is one impossible shot is getting pushed down the priority list, and honestly, he should be. But the sniper, as a hard-to-find human sensor who can observe for days without a battery, make judgment calls a camera can't, talk to friendly drones, call for fire, and put a round exactly where it's needed when the rifle really is the right tool, that person isn't going anywhere. That's not a downgrade from legend to irrelevance. It's a move from soloist to one node in a network kill chain. Less ghost on a ridgeline, more low signature recon specialist who happens to be the most reliable set of eyes a brigade has when every drone in the sky goes dark. And the camouflage tells the story. The old answer to don't get seen was a ghillie suit. The new answer is hiding visually, thermally, electronically, and behaviorally all at once. You hide your shape, your heat, your radio emissions, and the way you move when something's watching from above. That's a far harder craft than the old one. Frankly, it's a better test of the profession than another slightly cooler rifle. And there's a real lane where the human still wins outright. A sniper doesn't broadcast a control signal. A drone team can hunt. A bullet can't be jammed. A rifle can be quieter than a buzzing quadcopter. A human can read an ambiguous, politically loaded situation in a way no autonomous system should be trusted to. Urban overwatch, hostage scenarios, counter-sniper work, deep cover where any emission gets you killed. The days when weather grounds every aircraft on the front, that's all still sniper country, baby. So the rifle isn't leaving the inventory. It's just losing its spot as the automatic star of the show. The sniper really is the cleanest example of something happening to everyone in uniform. Drones aren't deleting old military jobs. They're forcing every old military job to justify itself under a sky full of cameras. Tanks still matter, but they can't roll around like it's 2003. Artillery still matters, but it has to shoot and move before the counterstrike lands. Infantry still matter, but bunching up in the open is now a way to star in a video with bad techno music. And the sniper still matters, but only if he stops believing the perfect shot is the center of the universe.
Then it's high, high, hey, the army's on its way. Count off the kids coming strong.
Ukraine didn't kill the sniper. Ukraine killed the fantasy that any one warrior gets to operate outside the networked war happening over his head. Sometimes the most valuable sniper in 2026 won't be the one who pulls the trigger. It'll be the one who finds the target, confirms it, feeds it into a network, and lets a cheap drone do the ugly part. That's less cinematic, but it's also more effective. And war, as always, has a terrible taste in cinema. Alright, that's the story. If you want to help keep this kind of analysis coming, hit that funky subscribe button, y'all, so you stay in the loop, because this war rewrites the rulebook about every 6 weeks. And if you want the deeper cuts, the longer reads, and the stuff I don't always put on YouTube, I'm over at Substack. I'll put that QR code on the screen, or just go to wesodonnell.com. I appreciate you being here, and as always, glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. Crimea is Ukraine.